26 years ago, a tiny political party was founded. Its aim, to pull the UK out of the EU. In just 100 hours' time, it will have achieved its aim. Nigel Farage was a founder member of UKIP and led the party for 9 years as Brexit switched from being the obsession of a minority to the will of the majority in the 2016 referendum. Many say he is responsible for that. So how does he think it came about? Our political editor, Gary Gibbon, sat down with Nigel Farage to take him through some of the big screen moments on the UK's journey to Brexit.
Oh, wow, dark hair.
2 decades ago, 3 UKIP MEPs are elected to the European Parliament. Nigel Farage thinks this was the critical moment that started Britain's journey out of the EU.
In an odd way, that was the biggest moment of the lot, because it was actually getting elected to that place that gave us some kind of a platform. So suddenly you start to appear on news programmes, suddenly you start to get invitations to attend events, and we used that opportunity, and if I'm being absolutely honest, we used the wherewithal provided by the European Parliament to build a UK political movement.
But the kicking off point, you couldn't have done any of this without proportional representation.
Of course.
In those elections.
Of course, of
it's
course.
It's a gift to parties like yours.
Yeah, it is.
Without it, you're strangled.
Without it, it's very difficult to change
Brexit might not have happened without those pressure points that you were able to apply in European elections through PR.
Oh, Brexit wouldn't have happened without proportional representation or, ironically, the European Parliament.
Next clip, please. Thank you. As the pressure from UKIP mounted, David Cameron announced an in-out referendum.
It is time for us
January 2013.
about Britain and Europe.
You won, you can go home now. Damn it, job done.
No, the battle's just begun. The real battle's just begun. We've now got it onto the agenda.
In his memoirs, David Cameron says, oh, it wasn't all about Nigel Farage, me calling this referendum. It was something I could see coming down the tracks that had to be done.
Utter rot. You know, they did not want to have this referendum.
You scared him into that corner.
They were losing support to us in such a big way. They were losing good people to us out around the country, and his biggest fear of all was that a number of MPs would cross the floor and join us.
The fight over who would run the official Leave campaign was dramatised by Channel 4. Dominic Cummings didn't want Nigel Farage as the frontman.
We need normal people.
Need 50% of the entire country plus one. Second fundamental of running a successful campaign, build a broad coalition of voters, and for that you need to be respectable. No offence.
Excuse me. Nigel, he should front the TV debates.
What is this rot? I've never seen it.
Every time that Nigel Farage's popularity increases nationwide, the support for Brexit decreases nationwide.
Yeah. What a load of rubbish. I did go meet them, and he tried to convince me that we should try and win the referendum to have a second referendum. I said, what?
Is there a bit of truth in that relationship, that he's sort of sitting there and saying he doesn't really want you about the place, and you were saying actually you needed to be the front man? That's how.
No. I never said that. What I said was there needs to be a big tent. We've got to cooperate. He didn't want to do that. Boris actually did, and I did speak to Boris all through the campaign. You know, and we shared notes and shared ideas and worked out who was going to go where, and who was going to do what.
But Boris Johnson said if Nigel Farage is too close to the Vote Leave campaign, apparently he used this phrase quite a lot in the room, we'll get a stench of stale fags and beer.
Well, he might say that, but
he meant something that would repel certain types of voters.
Well, I tell you what, I cooperated with Boris during the campaign quite successfully, not with the others.
Phone calls, texts, you were in contact?
Yeah, we did talk quite a bit during the campaign. But look, I mean, you know, this one...
And you trusted him?
Within reason, yeah.
Next clip, please. In the end, both Leave campaigns focused on immigration. Nigel Farage with this poster 6 days before the vote.
Not many women there, not many children, not many disabled.
People behind you are all fleeing for their lives from a war in Syria.
You don't know that. You don't know that. They're coming from all over the world. In fact, yes.
Do you have any regrets about that poster?
No. It was a photograph. It was the truth. It reflected the insanity of what was going on. And these aren't refugees.
And the potency of some of the strongest ads related to immigration in the referendum was related to Turkey. Not to the immigration that already happened, but to Turkey.
Well, Turkey was a prospective member of the European. I mean, look, Turkey was.
But people are slightly darker skinned. That's the thing that made.
Well, that's
people,
irrelevant. Very interesting, isn't it? And the whole immigration argument up until then had been about white people coming to Britain, Poles, Lithuanians.
Or was it a
Yeah,
fusing
of course
of a resentment amongst some voters about past waves of immigration from the Commonwealth?
I think no.
Those are images of Muslims on the move, and out and about in the campaign, you would often hear in the referendum voters talking about, we've got enough of them over here, send them home. And they weren't talking about...
You must have been in different places.
Romanians, Bulgarians.
You must
have heard
You
this.
must have been in different places.
I heard it again and again.
Well, you'll hear it every day. We can hear it now 100 yards outside this studio, and you could hear many other things said too. But in terms of...
You weren't stirring that up?
Look, by the time we got to the referendum, UKIP had already won a European election, virtually won an English County Council election, and we'd done that talking about immigration of white Roman Catholics, all right, and the fact we hadn't got control.
Dare to dream that the dawn is breaking on an independent...
The early hours of the morning after the referendum. Nigel Farage's victory speech.
About 4:10, I think that was.
This will be a victory for real people, a victory for ordinary people, a victory for decent people.
There were some of them on the other side, weren't there?
Yes, but also we had the self-interested establishment. Also, we had a political class who couldn't give a damn what ordinary people think.
What are you getting
And we'd
at
also
then?
been... well, I tell you what, I'm going to repeat that speech at 11 p.m. on the 31st of January this month. Brexit is something the establishment did not want. The political parties didn't want it, the big businesses didn't want it, the trade unions no longer wanted anything like it. Most of the media had accepted. It had been the status quo since...
But you might demonise all of them, but what about a hospital technician in Cambridge who happened to want to remain?
What about the fact? What about the fact?
and-
What about the fact that every single member of Parliament 10 years ago supported Remain, and there were thousands of activists out there, working with me mostly, but some other groups too, who have managed through their own sheer hard work to overturn and beat the establishment. That is why I called it a victory for the little people. People who were engaging in politics.
You didn't say that. You said real people, ordinary people and decent people.
Little people, I said. It's the
You
first
just
thing I
heard
said.
it. Look.
Yeah, well, yeah, real people, not career politicians, people who got into politics not because of what they could get out of it,
Decent? They're not.
but were happy to put the money into
They're
it.
not the only decent people in the country, though, are they?
Well, they didn't give
Isn't
us...
that the wrong thing
they,
to say?
They didn't give us 50 years of lies. 50 years of lies.
I'm talking about lots of people who I presume you would think were decent and respectable who voted the other way. You're demonising them, though.
I don't think it's very decent to willfully lie to a country, as was done in the 1970s.
Ordinary people, I'm talking about.
As
who
was
voted.
done in the 1975 referendum. I think the extent to which we've been misled has been absolutely appalling.
Could we have a look at the next one? Thank you.
Last year, Nigel Farage set up a new political party, the Brexit Party. He wanted to save Brexit from its enemies in Parliament, who he was convinced wanted to kill it off, and were very close to achieving that.
Are you sure you're ready?
It was gone, it was done, it wasn't going to happen. We were going to go through the agonies of a second referendum. You could see the momentum where it was, and I think what we did by launching the party, reset the agenda, and as I say, the Conservative Party looked in the mirror. When they saw us beginning to mass in the summer with hundreds of candidates for a general election, I think they looked in the mirror and said, we either adapt or we die, and they've adapted. And I think it led to Mrs May's resignation. And I think when they saw in the summer the fact that we were not going to go away, we were going to go on and fight a general election, that was when they decided, right, we are going to become the Brexit Party. And in a sense, that's what they did.
He's nicked your voters. He's nicked some of your political clothes.
We did all of them.
And he's getting away with it? Is that how you see it?
At the moment, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. At the moment, I'm trusting him to deliver.
Brexit policy is now in the hands of Boris Johnson. Nigel Farage's old enemy, Dominic Cummings, by his side. Brexit's godfather, nowhere near the corridors of power.
Do you feel you've had the recognition for creating Brexit that you deserve?
Around the world, yes.
A hero not acknowledged at home.
Around the world, absolutely. Around
Not at
Europe. Oh, I don't know. I think by ordinary people, yes. By ordinary people who are interested in politics, yes. Whichever side of the argument they're on.
But not by the country. There hasn't been a national recognition.
No, I wouldn't expect that from these people.
Those images at the beginning. You're a young man. Your life's been sucked into this project. But right back then, you were a bunch of lonely cranks, weren't you? You were regarded as.
That's how we were seen. Yeah. Yeah, that's how we were seen on this issue, on the European issue, on all the other things we fought for and started to talk about and develop and build as policy over years. We were considered, we were the outsiders, we were the fruitcakes, we were the lunatics, and do you know what? It's all mainstream now.